Well, my
Okay,
TA meal is here anyway, and I don't want it to get cold.
okay. All right, we're recording, so we're starting the session today. Today's July 15th. This week's module is Introduction to Kinship. So I believe we put out 3 videos yesterday regarding kinship. Henning did a really good job, in my opinion, talking about, introduction to kinship. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, I would recommend going and watching those. And also, if you didn't get it fully, you can always go back and watch them again. So today, Angelica was good enough to make a little presentation like she's done in the past with questions for the speakers. Today we only have 1 speaker. The other 2 that typically join us are not able to join us today. So we just have Dega Elliott. I guess before we begin, does anybody have any questions regarding kinship? If you have any kind of pressing matters that you want to ask about right away. Otherwise, we'll have opportunity to ask questions afterwards as well. But I know sometimes, I come prepared with questions and then I forget them. So at this time, does anybody have any questions regarding kinship before we begin? No? Okay. Well, I'm going to bring up the share screen with the questions. Speakers and parents. Okay. So the first question 1, can you tell us a little bit about your parents or siblings? So Dega, Ahusak.
Siblings akare waki nombra wagana kunyare waki nombra hiniwa ara nupi kira hanin konura choerke kono boy anan konura watch chodinga higaire Egi he nada wachana ringa hikaire. Naga ho kewa hara hi anshara chachshepskaga hikaire. Naga hi oni hara machyana ringa hikaire. Egon kira ashke niske wakino wana hi choke waharashke eske haninuninge kore eske re hamte ke hi e nikshanawi eske nigeshke hi choke wahara wadajikshe eske.
Oh, it's, I guess you don't really have to. You don't want to, it's fine. Okay, so basically what you said was you have 2 brothers. Kunu boy is named Wachoni, Isha? And then Hina is, and then Hina boy is named Wachanaji. And you're the Haga boy then. So.
That's awesome.
Egon jagu ishegi. Iru kanana ne washon sharang.
And then you said your father's name was Chachshepska? You sure? Chachshepska? And then your mother's name was Machyanaji. Okay. All right. I guess before any further, and this will probably come up as a question at some point, either today or tomorrow. So I'll just try to jump the gun on that a little bit. Could you talk about Wanahida briefly and let the participants that means and maybe how to use it real quickly? Are you guys still there? Hello?
Can you repeat that? You're
Can you guys hear
cutting
me?
out. Can you repeat that? You're cutting out.
Yeah, I know. You guys froze up. I was asking if, yeah, I was asking if you could talk about the term wanahida and what it means, and maybe an example of how to use it.
Wanahida is a term that you use after someone has passed. Some people even say that you shouldn't use that term for at least 4 years after they have passed. I think that's kind of a transitioning time for like when a ghost turns into they're considered a spirit after that. It has something to do with that, I believe. It's a term that personally I don't use. In fact, I don't use it at all. I hear people using it, but I have never ever really used it. Some of my elders used to even use that term, but I never really fully understood exactly why they used it or why they didn't use it. But people still use it, and again, it's just a term that it's a kind of a label or a term that they tag on to the names. After they say the name, then they say wanahida. For instance, I would say Hianchara Charshepskaga wanahida. Deske e shunon, something like that. That's the way I would use it. And that's the way people generally use it.
Okay. All right. Good information. Okay. Moving on to question 2. Can you tell us when you would use informal and formal names? For example, Hinu and Nunu. I know this was covered in the videos a little bit, but maybe you could just reiterate and in your own words tell us maybe the differences and when to use them.
In my experience and from what I have heard, the informal names are the terms that you would use when you're actually talking to the person, person to person, I would think. For instance, I have some younger sisters, some of them call me Ahusak, some of them call me brother, some of them call me Dodo. That's the informal name for Hichido, which is the older brother. So you rarely hear somebody using the informal name when they're talking about their relative. So I think it's more used when you're actually addressing the person, person to person conversation.
Okay. So for formal, one of the things that I hear is, somebody's speaking to maybe their father, for example, and they say hianchachi when speaking to them. So that's one time when they would actually use the formal, the formal term when addressing, maybe their father, for example. Is there other ones like, have you ever heard, hinuhachi for somebody speaking to their older sister, or maybe hidekhachi? Does that kind of cover all of them, or is it just?
I think for a male to address their older sister, it's probably more appropriate to say hinuhachi, because hearing a man say nunu, I think, is a pretty rare. At least I've never heard very many men refer to their older sister as nunu, when talking to them. Maybe they do. I don't know. It was kind of rare, at least when I was growing up. It seemed like it's the same with when you would talk to your uncle. You don't, very rarely you hear somebody say hidekhachi. You just hear them say Dega.
Dega, yeah.
Okay. And as far as informal for hianch, most people just say Jaji when they're talking to their father. They call them Jaji. Once in a while, if they want to be sound a little more formal, they would say Hianshachji or Hianshnina, and then talk to them. Those are the different ways that the informal and formal names can be used.
Okay.
So what is it? Just a personal preference thing.
So is there like a definition of that, Hianchachji or Hinukachji? I've heard that before. What exactly does that mean? Does that mean something?
If you say Hianchachji, you're basically saying my father. It could be kind of a term of endearment. Maybe it could mean my respected father, my honored father, something like that.
Okay.
But it's just a more respectable way of saying it,
Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure about everybody here, but anybody might, that might be watching this video might not have ever heard that. I never heard that growing up, really. Even though, I've been around the language, but I didn't understand the language at that time. So maybe I did hear it and I didn't recognize it. So if anybody's, watching this video, they might not have heard that before. So that's good information as well. So question 3. So this came up in our meeting yesterday. Do you know any informal names for Hichunk? Have you ever heard any names for that?
I don't recall ever hearing of an informal name for Hichunk.
Okay.
Or even Waichke for that matter,
Yeah.
When you want to talk to when a male wants to talk to one of their younger sisters, if they want to use the term, they just call her Waichke.
I've heard that before, yeah.
When they're talking about her, they would say Waichehada. If they're addressing her personally in a one-to-one conversation, they would say Waiche. That's what they would call her to address her. But I've never heard of anything for Hichunk.
Okay. All right, moving on to question 4. Do Ho-chunks have a word for stepbrother or sister that you know of?
There could be a term, but if there is, I don't believe I have ever heard it. There's a term for a stepchild, and I believe it's Hicharan.
Hicharan.
But that's for a stepchild. That's not necessarily for a stepbrother or stepsister. So no, I'm not right offhand. I don't know a word for stepbrother or stepsister.
Okay. All right, I believe we have one more question. Oh no, that's it. Okay. So I stopped the share function on here. So I guess I'm going to open it up to the participants and also the instructors if you guys have any questions. I know this is, Ho-chunk kinship is really complex, and there's a lot of information there, and we covered some of the basics here today and also with the videos from Huachete. So does anybody have any questions regarding kinship while we have Dega Ahusak here?
I guess maybe you briefly said it there, but like Hianchnina is sort of like a direct address. Is that right? So like saying I've heard Nina in terms of like I don't know, ceremonies or something.
Yeah.
So that's a direct.
They'll address them in that way. Yeah, go ahead, Dega.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. You can say Hianchnina or Hianchachchi. They pretty much mean the same. Or you can just say Jaji.
Okay. Any other questions from participants or instructors?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask something, Ahusak. Okay, so when I'm introducing myself, I usually introduce my Hianchara last because he's Seneca. So so when I get through with all my introductions, then I say Hianchara Jesse Kanjakriga Wanahira Higaire. And then after that, then I want to say that I want everybody to know that I'm Seneca. So I use, after I say Higaire, Eske Seneca Naga Hochunk Wa Unakshana. But how would you tell somebody that my father is Seneca? Because when we say that, we always end everything with J. So if somebody's already in, past, how would you say that he's from a different tribe?
If he's already passed, you can say Seneca Hijan Hered.
Oh, okay. Pinagigi.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So any other questions for Dega Elliott while he's here? Anybody?
Yeah.
I guess maybe it wasn't covered yet, but Dega versus Little Dega, is that based on sort of like, is it solely just based on age, or would it more be based on, say, like if it was my
Generations.
mother's brother's son, if they were older than me, would that still be considered Dega or Little Dega?
Yeah, it's more based on older and younger is what it is. One way is that you could have Degas that are brothers, and the older Dega could just be Dega, and the younger Dega could be like a little Dega or a Hideging. If you were to address them, you could say Hidegnina, or you could say Dega. Or if you're talking to the younger Dega, you could say Hidegingnina. And the other way that I understand too is one of them might be older than you, or one might be younger than you. That would make a difference too, at least from my understanding anyway. And the other way is generations. You could have a Dega that is a brother to your mother. He's a Dega. That Dega could have a son. That's another one of your Degas, and that's a generational difference. Maybe the younger Dega in that case could be a little Dega. Hidegingnina is what you would call him. Or when you're talking about him, Hideginghara, you could say. So there's different situations where you could use those terms.
Shinajin, did you have a question?
Yeah. So you talked about a term for a stepchild. Is there also one then for stepparents?
I don't believe there is, at least not that I can think of. That's not to say there isn't. I just can't think of it if there is.
I want to say that I heard something
older than me.
I want to say I heard something at one point, and I probably have it in one of my notebooks that I actually grabbed from the office the other day. I'll look around and see if I can find something for that. But I want to say that I heard something at one point. I'm not real sure, so I'll look through that. And I would have it in my notebooks that I have here now, so I'll let you know.
Yeah, there could be a term. It wouldn't surprise me if there's a term.
I remember talking with Guzering about this, and I don't know if this is how it was for everybody, but she said like when they were growing up, they didn't consider stepbrothers and stepsisters. They were just your brother, your sister. I don't know if that was like just a family thing, or is that kind of like how we were?
I think that's pretty much how it was with most people. And maybe that's why we don't have a term for stepbrother and stepsister. I don't know. But on the other hand, there's a way to say stepchild, though. There could be terms for all of those. I just don't know them if there is. And it's probably because we never use such terms. A brother was a brother, a sister was a sister, whether they were half or full, however you want to label that.
Yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay, so once again, if you guys think of something later, any kind of questions or anything, like we always say, feel free to, go to the Facebook page and just, post them in the comment section, and somebody will see it, and we'll respond if we know the answer, I guess. If not, we'll try to find out for you guys and let you know the answer, because it's our job to know these things. So Dega Elliott's available, and I can just shoot him a message if he doesn't see it, I guess, right away, and I'll see if if he knows, and I'll report back. So if there's nothing else, that's it for today's session. Once again, tomorrow we did move tomorrow's session to 11 o'clock as well, just to keep it consistent with the time. So if you guys want to join us tomorrow, we'll see you then. 11 o'clock. Any Chuck Joey.
Oh, I need Chuck Show.
Chuck Joey.
Joey.
Yeah, look at this over.
Honey,